Tell me what happened here. Welcome to Hellfire Club, perched atop Montpelier Hill in Ireland. This is one of the most haunted places in all of Europe. The story begins in the year 1725 when Francis, an Englishman who made his fortune trading in the American colonies, purchased a piece of land atop Montpelier Hill overlooking Dublin. There was already a small farmhouse on the property, but he decided to build himself a grand home here. The only problem was he had no idea just how difficult it would be to get materials up the hill to construct his dream house. But being a rich man, he simply hired more workers and paid them higher wages to make up for the difficulty of getting materials to the top of the hill. And so construction began, and the workers hauled everything up to the top of the hill, including the materials for a grotto in the center of the property. Over the years, the grotto became the center of activity at the party house. It was said that at least 3 people drowned in its waters. It's also where the infamous Hellfire Club held their meetings. When Custis died, his son inherited the estate. Unlike his father, the son wasn't much for parties, but he did complete the house. He also constructed a wall around the entire estate, blocking the view from the road below. You can still see the old farmhouse from the 18th century nestled between the main house and the road. It looks out over the overgrown remains of what was once a manicured garden that led down to the lake. In 1763, the infamous Lord Charlemont purchased the estate. While he lived here, the Hellfire Club continued to meet in the grotto. During this time, members of the club were known to have thrown gold coins into the lake from the grotto. Supposedly, you can still see the glimmering treasure at the bottom of the lake if you look closely. If you ever come across any gold coins in your travels in Ireland, make sure you keep them. They're not cursed or anything. Lord Charlemont passed away in 1769, and the estate was sold to John St. Leger, whose family would hold on to it until 1842. It was during this time period that the club really began to take shape. Members of the club included some of the most influential men in all of Ireland. Like the Earl of Kingston and the Bishop of Derry, they would dress up in robes and meet in the Blue Room, where they would plot the destruction of the Anglo-Irish ruling class and discuss philosophy and politics. Above the fireplace hung a painting of a woman with horns. Members of the club would kiss the horns for good luck before entering the room. The Hellfire Club was officially founded in 1772. Its purpose was to promote atheism and oppose Christianity. It's also been suggested that the club was an early Freemason lodge, but there's no evidence to support this claim. In fact, there isn't much evidence about the club at all. Very few records exist because meetings were held in secret and minutes were destroyed to prevent exposure of members. Most of what we know about the club comes from stories spread by those who wanted to destroy the group, such as clergymen and journalists. So it's possible that many of the stories surrounding the club are exaggerated or completely made up. What we do know is that the club had a crest and motto. Their crest was a goat holding a torch, and their motto was Lech mich im Arsch, which translates to lick me in the ass in English. Yep, things were pretty wild here back in the day. They weren't called the Hellfire Club for nothing. One story claims that the founder of the club, Francis Custis, killed his wife in a fit of rage. She was an opium addict, and he caught her taking drugs that were prescribed to him for a sick child. Another story says that he beat his manservant to death for stealing. Then, in a panic, he chopped the body into pieces, boiled it in a cauldron, then threw the bits into the lake. Maybe these stories are true and maybe they're not, but it's clear that the club was scandalous, to say the least. A writer for the Dublin Evening Post described the club as follows: "The society consists of 5 or 6 dissipated young fellows of good families and fortunes who have distinguished themselves by their opposition to everything that is sacred. Their chief amusements are drinking, gaming, and the gross arts of debauchery. An initiation ceremony involved a great deal of wine, smoking, and signing of oaths. After a candidate had passed this test, he was blindfolded and brought to the grotto. There he was given a choice. He could either walk into the lake and retrieve something from the bottom, or reach into a hole in the wall and grab whatever he could. If he chose the first option, he would be initiated immediately. If he chose the second option, he was rejected and sent home. What exactly was in that hole in the wall, no one knows. But it probably wasn't anything good. During the initiation, the candidate would be asked, 'What is the object of the meeting?' To which the response was supposed to be, 'To enjoy ourselves.' Some versions of the story say that if the candidate didn't respond correctly, he was drowned in the lake. Over the course of the club's existence, it was said that 300 men were initiated into the Hellfire Club. Supposedly, after being initiated, each member was allowed to bring a guest to one of the meetings. This means that some of the most important men in all of Ireland regularly met in a satanic cult in the middle of a lake. Imagine trying to explain that to the rest of your friends after they invite you to join them for a nice evening at the opera. You might have to sit this one out. Thanks for the invite, guys. Things finally came to an end for the Hellfire Club in 1785 when the leader, Lord Charlemont, fled to France during the Irish Rebellion. Before leaving, he ordered the club's seal to be melted down and cast into the lake. As a last-ditch effort to hide evidence of the club, the new owner of the estate tried to clean up the club's reputation by hosting a Bible reading on the very spot where the Hellfire Club had their meetings. Obviously, this didn't work, and the place remained infamous. After passing through many different owners, the estate eventually came into the possession of Edmund Custis, the great-grandson of the original owner. In 1942, he opened the gardens and grotto to the public for the first time. Since then, the property has remained in the Custis family and is now run by the fourth generation. They continue to welcome visitors to the property while keeping the house and other buildings closed off. And if you ask anyone who lives nearby, they'll warn you to stay away from Montpelier Hill at night. That's when the ghosts come out to play. One story claims that a woman who was once locked in the tower by her jealous lover haunts the grounds. Others say that the ghost of a little girl who drowned in the lake as an offering to the devil wanders the property. And then there's the ghost of the illegitimate son of Lord Charles. He disappeared without a trace, and it is said that his ghost can often be seen wandering the grounds. Some believe that he haunts the grotto, where it is said that his father brought him as a child and initiated him into the Hellfire Club. But perhaps the most active ghost is that of Francis Custis himself. He's said to appear in the window of the Blue Room on cold winter nights, or sometimes he can be seen walking the grounds with his dog. Many believe that his spirit is bound to the estate because he never left. You see, in 1739, while visiting London, Custis fell ill and died. His heart was removed and taken back to Ireland, where it was buried under the floorboards of the Blue Room. His body was put into a coffin and shipped back to Dublin. But it was never claimed. It sat in the harbor for weeks, before finally being taken off the boat and buried in an unmarked grave in St. Mission's Church. This caused some complications with his will, since his heirs argued that if his heart was in County Dublin, then he must have intended for his body to remain in England. Either way, his remains were never reunited, which may be the reason why his ghost still lingers around the property. As darkness falls, visitors to the estate can feel the energy shifting around them. They report hearing screams in the night and the sound of gunshots and drums from the Hellfire Club members holding their meetings in the grotto. Sometimes people even see strange lights flickering in the windows of the house. If you visit the estate today, you can walk the grounds, explore the ruins, and check out the creepy grotto. But be careful if you do. Some say that if you touch the walls of the grotto, you'll be cursed with bad luck for 7 years. Or if you swim in the lake, you'll disappear beneath the water and drown. Thanks for watching. Have you ever visited the Hellfire Club? Would you go if you had the chance? Let me know in the comments below. And remember to subscribe if you haven't already. See you next time.